problems I want to talk about when it comes to Thomas Frank, and the most important problem, I think, which I think people are starting to notice, is how heavily reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus. And I've got a lot of when you look at it on the pitch, you saw it yesterday before Kudus came on. I don't remember a single chance to be created. I think apart from the Richarlison one right at the start. Mohamed Kudus at the moment, it seems as though you look at the Wolves game. It was like when Kudus was flying and when he was creating, Spurs were looking good. But as soon as he got shut down, it was almost as if Spurs got shut down themselves. And I think a lot of people, I'm starting to notice that we seem to be extremely reliant on his ability to wriggle out of trouble, get us up the pitch, create chances. And when he's not doing that, it seems that we're kind of lost for ideas at the moment. And I'm looking at some of the data this season with Tottenham, and I'm looking at it, and some of it is quite concerning when in regards to, I think it backs up a lot of kind of the eye test in terms of how reliant we are on Kudus, and it also kind of backs up some of the problems I think a lot of people are pointing out. So if you bring on you can bring on some of the numbers. So this is kind of what the numbers are showing at the moment this season. This is with Spurs. So if we're looking at some of the creative numbers with Tottenham this season, this is key passes. So that means chances created essentially. If you look at the top two, you've got Porro with 14, who's top, and Kudus is second with 13. Obviously, Porro takes a lot of the set pieces and stuff, and obviously he's crossing a lot from deep. But Kudus, you look at in terms of in the front line, those are the players obviously you're expecting to be creative and creating chances, right? Kudus is 13. The next one closest to Kudus is Richarlison with 4, and then Bentancur with 4. And then beyond that, you got Simmons, who's also got 4, who's played like half the time of those players.
Yeah, he barely played.
So hopefully Simmons, on this evidence, the more he plays, he's going to catch up with those other players. But for me, I'm looking at that, I'm like, where's all our attackers? No one seems to be close to Kudus when it comes to chances created. He is so far, he's almost like, he's basically 3 times anyone closer to him in terms of players in the front line. That, I think that's like clear evidence of how reliant we are on him to create opportunities for us. That's just basic key passes, like a metric there. If you're looking at expected assists, right? He's at 1.8, which is basically the quality of chances they're creating this season. He's at 1.8. Porro's obviously a bit closer, but 1.3. But then beyond that, no one's even over 1 expected assist. Bentancur's on half. Bergvall, again, Simmons is quite high up, and considering he's barely played, he's quite good. But everyone is like nowhere near him, Kudus, when it comes to how many assists that we're expecting. And in terms of attackers, it's quite worrying. You got Bentancur and Bergvall, who aren't even that high up, but they're there. But in terms of a forward player, the next highest is Richarlison at 0.2, which is nothing. And then beyond that, it's Brennan all the way down here. Like, none of our attackers are pulling their weight when it comes to creating chances. And I think that's a real worry. Like, Kudus is basically shouldering all the brunt of our creativity at the moment, it seems.
And what happens when he gets injured? You know what I mean? Christmas period, very busy. It is very worrying to see that. I think it's more the eye test that is worrying than the stats, though, Sim. You saw how blunt we looked yesterday without Kudus in the team and without Xavi in the team. And these are 2 new signings. You'd think that these guys would come to add on to what we had already. And it's just, Yeah, maybe it's cost us a little bit because Frank is, focused so much on the defense that, our attacking play has suffered a little bit. That could be, a little factor to do with it. But yeah, it is worrying to see how reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus there, and I I don't know if the solution is getting more players around the box and in dangerous areas. So, like, I was screaming last night, Sim, for a change. Like, even stick Kudus, get Richie off, stick Kudus up top, stick Brennan on the right, get Tell on, do something, get Chavi in the 10, do something to change the pattern of the game. That's what was driving me crazy yesterday. You could see that it wasn't working for us. You could see Bodo getting in the game, and you could see them going 1-0 ahead. And I'm just looking. I look at my manager to see what is going on the pitch and make the correct decisions to get over the line. And I think that's what I'm most worried about. Because sometimes when I look at the lineup, when you see Bentancur and Paulinho in there against Wolves at home, I'm like, why? Why?
Hmm.
Just why? Why are they there? Why not, go a bit more attacking? Why not have a bit more creativity
Hmm.
in there against the Wolves
But
at
but if you
home?
but if you look at um, another like basic, a couple of basic metrics here, crosses into
Yeah,
the box, right?
yeah,
Kudus has 10.
yeah.
Porro has 8. No one else has more than 2. So Kudus and Porro, the only players getting crosses in the box. I mean, Simmons has barely played and he has more than other players. The only other players have 1. So without Kudus basically in the front line, no one is putting a cross in the box at all.
We've got
No one's
nothing.
doing supply. This is passes into the box. So just literally a pass into the penalty area. It shouldn't be that hard, right? That should be something like most players should be able to do. Again, Kudus is well ahead with 15. You got Porro with 12, and then the next one is 5. Again, Simmons. So I guess what I'm looking at this data is we need Simmons to be playing a lot more. Essentially, we need him to get up to speed. We need him in and around the box, but none of these players are. I mean, Kudus is triple anyone else in the front line. When it comes to just a simple pass into the box, Kudus
And
is
if I'm,
again.
i-
Is that's not even something that I'm not even asking to create a chance. I'm asking, can you just pass the ball to a player in the box? And
yeah,
it's like without Kudus, no one else is doing that.
no one can do it. It's ridiculous, Sim. And if I'm an opposition manager, and we've seen managers do jobs on us, you're looking at that, you're like, okay, I'll shut down Kudus. Then what are they gonna do? I'll double, triple up on him. I won't give him any space,
And
and Spurs won't be able to
no
create.
one else can even pass the ball into the box, let alone create a chance. It
Mate,
seems.
honestly, it's worrying. I want to see Chavi in the 10 week in, week out. I don't like this left business. I don't, Frank might see him as a left winger. I do not see that guy as a left winger at all. He's someone that can open up the play from the middle. Maybe he can play there, he's okay, but that for me, that's not his position, left wing. He's a 10, out and out 10. He looks like he's got magic in his feet as well around the box. Um, so yeah, I hope we see Xavi in the 10 against Leeds. That's for sure. That's for sure, Sim. But how are you feeling about it all, Sim? Because obviously you were a big supporter of Ange
Yeah.
when everyone was against the Aussie. Um, and we brought in Frank. We took a big gamble getting rid of a manager who just brought us a
Well,
European trophy.
there's going to be a time for that, I promise you, because when we go reacts, there's quite a bit of Ange stuff, so we'll talk
Ah,
about that.
okay,
But
okay,
but
okay.
I want to just focus on right now as well, just what we're seeing on the pitch, because I was saying yesterday, I remember Josh King was saying in the WhatsApp, I hope we rest Kudus yesterday, he was saying.
Yeah, yeah, he
I
did.
messaged, I said before the game, we are just so reliant on him. Like, we're relying on him to do everything. We're relying on him to get us up the pitch. We're relying on him to create chances. We're relying on him to cross the ball in the box. We're relying on him to dribble past players. We're relying on him to keep the ball. It seems as though we can't keep the ball in the final third unless Kudus is on the pitch. If you look at another metric, shot creating actions, Kudus again well ahead with 30. Which shot creating action is a direct action that leads to a shot. Kudus is well ahead with 30. The next one in terms of 4 player, Bergvall, if you can even call him a forward player, you know, he has 12. Again, like all the other players offering, forward players offering very, very little if it's not for Kudus. In open play as well, he's well ahead, 17. No one else has more, you know, more. Porro has 13. And what was quite a concerning one as well, I was looking at these stats. You look at this, right? This is just touches in the final third, just getting on the ball in the final third, right? Kudus is 207, yeah? The next two are fullbacks. They're fullbacks. Porro and Spencer, two of the top 3 players to have touched the ball in the final third the most in our team this season are fullbacks.
Mate,
Porro and Spence.
That is wild. If I was Odegaard, Johnson, and Tell and these guys, I'd be like, what the hell?
I don't understand how
What the hell?
You're a forward player, right? You're playing in the attacking third. Your job is to do things in the attacking third, and fullbacks are touching the ball more than you in that area. I understand maybe for a striker like Richarlison, you know, you got defenders around you, it's tough for you to get on the ball, but how Kudus, and he's got double essentially apart from Porro, who he's got basically a quarter more than, he's basically double anyone else. Spence is 107. Kudus is 207. The next, how crazy is this? The 4th most, right, is Xavi Simons, who's barely played.
Who just arrived.
Oh, he made his debut against West Ham a few games ago. He hasn't even started every game. He's only started against... he started against West Ham, and he started against... who else was it? Not Bournemouth. West Ham, and he started on the last game against Wolves.
Yeah.
And he's already...
On the left.
And he's already 4th for most touches in the attacking third in our whole squad.
Wow.
Fullbacks are having more touches in the squad than in the attacking third than our attackers. I looked at this as well. Who's having touches just in the middle third of the pitch, right? 4 of the top 5 are defenders. So you got Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, and then you have to wait for the 4th one is Bentancur. Then the next one is Spence. So where are our midfielders getting on the ball? They're not in the attacking third. They're not even touching it in the middle third. Right, that's defenders. Defensive third, they're not touching it. That's all defenders as well. So our midfield are not getting on the ball. I mean, it's a separate point to the Kudus one, but they're not getting on the ball, our midfield players at all. We're relying on our defenders to be dominating the ball in the middle third. It's not our midfielders are not getting on the ball.
No. What do you think the solution is to this, Sim? Where do we?
I don't know whether, but I think a lot of it is to do with the approach, because you look at how we approach the game and how we. Just another quick one before, and then we'll bring the stats off. You look at the take-ons. This is pretty crazy. Kudus has 69 attempted take-ons. The next closest is Spence with 22. So Kudus is basically doing all the dribbling in the team, essentially, is the point. He's got 33 successful take-ons. That's nearly as many as the whole rest of the team combined. So we're basically relying on him to basically have the ball in the attacking third. We're relying on him to create, to cross, to dribble. But we're basically relying on Kudus. We're basically a one-man team going forward at the moment. It's basically Kudus or nothing. That's basically what I'm seeing here. That's how reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus. Okay, you can take the stats off now. In terms of why it's happening, I think if you look at our approach, we're very much building up in the wide areas. We've got no central progression at the moment, which means the midfielders seem to be moving out wide. We're creating overloads in the wide areas, and we're not even bothering to try and build up through the middle, it seems. We're trying to bypass that middle area. So it's leading to Porro and Kudus bearing the brunt of a lot of our build-up down the right because they're the ones who can handle it. I think Udogie can handle it going forward. Spence, I'm not so sure when it comes to getting into the final third and being effective. I think Udogie did a good job, and that's why we looked a lot better against Brighton when he was playing, because he did a good job down the left-hand side. But our left winger, whoever we're having a problem in our left winger, they're not seeming to be able to do the job at the moment.
There's a big sunny-shaped hole on the left.
There's a big hole on the left wing. But I think Frank has to do a lot of work and getting our central players involved. And whether that means we need to be seeing Simmons a lot more in the 10 so we can get the ball to him and have a lot more central progression. Do we need a centre mid who's capable of taking the ball of the half turn, playing those forward passes in between the lines? I don't know whether it's we don't have anyone capable or Frank's not focusing on it, or maybe is Frank not focusing on it because we have no one capable. I don't know what comes forward, the chicken or the egg. But all I can say is that is what is happening at the moment. We're basically completely abandoning in possession the centre of the pitch, and if you actually look at the game when we're playing, there's no one ever in the centre. We're only ever going out wide. There's actually no one even there to pass to. It's not like there are players there and we're neglecting to pass them. They're always out wide. They're like we're like basically doing, it seems to be very purposeful. We're moving our players out wide to build up progression in those areas. But it's leading to basically these stats where if Kudus ain't doing anything, we've got basically we're basically offering F all on the pitch. And that, for me, at the moment, is the biggest concern that Frank has to adjust to. Because whatever you want to say about our forward players, this isn't even an attack on our forward players necessarily. They're not pulling their weight, but I'm looking at who we have, and there is talent there. Whatever you want to say, there is players who should be able to come up with more than what they're offering right now. And we shouldn't be this reliant on Kudus in the forward line. Like, why, that should never be kind of acceptable.
No, it shouldn't be acceptable, Sim. And, it's like we've gone back 5 years when we were reliant on Harry Kane. Harry Kane was the one pulling us out of, so many games. He rescued us, so many. And it's like we haven't learned our lesson. Now we're relying on Momo. And, that's not what football's about, guys. You think about the best teams that had some of the best players in the world. They were a team as well as having, a Messi or a Ronaldinho or a Ronaldo or whoever else, or a Raul or a Figo or, a Zizou. They had other players around them that were fantastic and they understood the team aspect of the game. And maybe that's something that we lack a little bit, with the amount of players that come in and out, the amount of managers that come in and out. Maybe there is a little bit of disharmony within the group as well that is affecting the way we play a little bit. Yeah. Players that are disgruntled, not so happy, not playing. This player's not, so you become a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? A little bit complacent about the way you're playing, and that's what it looked like to me yesterday. It looked like players that didn't really want to put in 110%, and this is Champions League. Are you guys?
I don't know if it's disgruntlement. I just think the approach at the moment, I think there's a lot of problems with it, and I think Frank's got to sort a lot of it out. Work out.
Yeah, sorry, Sim. Sorry.
No. He's got to work out how we can build up more effectively, essentially, without just relying on Kudus. Kudus should be like, I think at the moment we're so reliant on him, but he is so good in doing these things. It's kind of working a bit because he can kind of shoulder that brunt. But if we can make it so that there's threats everywhere, and then Kudus is going to be unstoppable, because if we've got threats in other parts of the pitch, which the other team are worried about, then we can't get into a mode where they're just relying on stopping Kudus, and then that's it, and then we're shut down. So I think Frank has to work out how we can get these other players more involved. I think Malware makes a decent point. He says, Sim, that's what happens when you lose Son, Maddison, and Kulu and Solanke. And he's right. We do have a lot of talent.
Good point.
On the
Very good point.
sidelines, and you get them more involved. And maybe we wouldn't be so reliant on Kudus. But look, I'm looking at the team again. I know Brennan's doesn't get the most involved, but you got Odebear, you got Bergval, Richarlison. He's a player. When he was at Everton, he loved to be involved in general play. He was a good player at Everton. You've got Simmons there. You've got you do have talent. I know maybe there's a lot on the disposal, but you've got talent in your squad which you can use. I mean, talent which I think if he would have loved at Brentford, and at Brentford they were, a good attacking team. They used to really hurt oppositions, and I think I'm looking at the talent he's got at his disposal at Spurs, and there is so much more to work with, in my opinion, than just Kudus and that's it. He has to be able to get these players more involved somehow.
Look, there is, but this is why I think it's partly on the players, and there might be a bit of disgruntlement and disharmony within the dressing room. Because if you think about that Brentford team last year, do you remember they were scoring in the first 2 minutes of the game? They were going at teams. They were just, really all-out attack. And then I'm looking at yesterday's performance, and why are we not doing that? Why are we not attacking? Why are we not? And is it the way we're set up, or is it that the players don't have the ability to attack the way Frank wants yet? I don't really know.
Well, they have less ability than what the Brentford players have. I don't know, unless it's just a teething problems, and when it will start to click at some point. Maybe that's it. Maybe we just need to be a little patient. But my only point really was, I was watching the game yesterday, and I've been watching us this season, and we seem to be very reliant on Kudus when I look at the team, when I look at the eye test. And then I'm looking at the numbers, and the numbers seem to back up what I'm seeing when it comes to how reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus. And I think that is something that Frank has to get to grips with, and we need to fix that issue. I think, judging by the numbers, getting Simmons more involved is going to help, because he seems to be quite high up, even though he's barely played. So that's one way, I think, to alleviate that problem. But I don't think it's sustainable to keep being so reliant on him. I think that is something we got to work on. But look, that's all I wanted to bring up. That's the problems. Let's move on. We got player ratings we're going to go through.